Alright y'all, this is Dungeon coming at you with another vid. Today we're going to be doing 7.5. So this is going to be after episode 7. And this is going to be on whether or not you should infuse your weapons and why you would do so and things like that. It's kind of important that you know because up to this point, this is the strength-based character. I'll show you the stats real quick for this guy. Level 52. And I'm about to upgrade it to 40 strength. Matter of fact, I'll show you guys that real quick while I'm talking to you.
Is that a
and basically, what you want to do is take a look at the damage and consider what type of damage that you have, and whether if it's split damage, and how much bonus damage you get from your statistics and stuff. Whether you're getting bonuses from strength, dex, intelligence, or faith. And then based on all that, consider how much damage you're actually doing, okay? Because if you take a look here, especially when you go to the blacksmith, actually, when you are looking to infuse a weapon, it's somewhat misleading. And I'll show you a clip of that in this video as well. But for right now, so I've got 40 strength and a 12 dex, and then 6 in intelligence and faith, okay? Now, granted, there's a little bit of scaling with, so I upgraded the fire longsword to +6. Alright, and the reason is because, I mean, I'm pretty much going to be using this craftsman's hammer, and I can get more materials to get to +6. That's not really going to be a problem. I've already, in episode 5, or 5 or 6, already unlocked the large shard farm. I can buy more shards, regular Titanite shards from this guy, up to I think 9 more, 10 more, something like that. And then once we progress a little more, then there'll be other places to farm for Titanite, and it's really not a problem. So getting it to +6 right now, kind of a good thing, because you know, there's some enemies where the fire longsword is going to be a really good weapon to have. Like, there really is. But that's not the case for every enemy. So you can see right here, we're pushing at around 300 total damage, right? So a little more than 150 physical, a little less than 150 fire damage. Alright? Whereas you take a look at the craftsman's hammer, even with the 40 strength, I'm not even at 300. It's technically, it's like, I mean, it's pretty close, right? Because it's about almost 109 or 290. So compare 290 compared to 156 physical, and then 143 fire. So correct me if my math is off by 1 or 2 or whatever, but I'm looking at pretty close to the same. I mean, it's pretty close, but this one is split damage and this one is regular damage. So we'll take a look at what happens when you attack different creatures, and some creatures that are vulnerable to fire is going to do more damage. So you kind of, if you know which monsters those are, so those enemies, then that will kind of help out. The problem though with fire damage is that a lot of creatures have decent resistance to fire damage, although there are some that are weak to fire. So that's that. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and showcase a few examples of you know, enemies that are good, enemies that are not good, and stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and move to a couple of these examples. All right, you guys. So here's what I have equipped right now. Okay. I've got the craftsman's hammer +1 and a fire longsword +6. And here we go. I'm gonna take a look at the damage differential here. Actually, we're gonna start with the fire longsword. So 220. That was one hit with. And I will say that I really don't want to get the extra damage from a counterattack, because you will get extra damage. Look at that, 344. So nearly, probably double. I imagine I got a little bit of counterattack damage there with the fire longsword, but I mean considerably more damage. All right, we'll take a look at another example. All right, you guys, so here's another example. We're gonna actually take down this basilisk right over here, and this is probably what you expect to find with using these two weapons that we used in the last clip. Again, the Craftsman's Hammer +1 and the Fire Longsword +6. They do similar damage on if you add them both together. So if the enemy has low resistances, then it does about 400. 2 hits does about 400 damage with the Fire Longsword, and some of it is, you know, counterattack damage and stuff like that. And they're both, I'm using both R1s. That's what I've been using. So here's another R1. So again, does pretty similar damage. Ooh, there's a drop. Hey, Boltstone. Alright, so we'll take a look, I think, at maybe one more example, and if I can find one, we'll look at one more example. Otherwise, we'll go to the blacksmith, and I can kind of show you when you're considering upgrading. We'll take a look at this Boltstone actually and see what it does. Alright, you guys, so we're over here at the Force of the Fallen Giants, and we're going to take a look and see how much damage difference that this guy right here that I really hate does, because I kind of want him to not come back anymore. Alright, so I will say I'm probably going to have to attack him again, because that was, I'm pretty sure there was some counter attack damage on that one, because he was about to hit me. So let me go ahead and try it again and see how much damage it does, just to be sure. Okay, well, 307, and he was probably in mid-animation. I'll just try to replicate that with the Fire Longsword. So it did 307 on both occasions. You know, I'll try to replicate it, and hopefully he does the same attack animation, and I can swing at the same time. Alright, 225. Alright, come on now, let's get that attack animation. Let me move over here, he'll run over here and do it again. Oh my goodness. Alright, 204. So, considerably different, and it's not like those guys have like really strong armor, you know what I'm saying? Let's take a look again. $225, that's what the counter damage looks like. 225. Alright, so considerable difference. I mean, there's about 75 points of damage in differential between the two weapons. Alright, and I think at this point we're probably just going to go back and I'll show you some information about infusing. Now that you see the difference, so I will say this, that you know, if you use a pure physical weapon, even if it does slightly less damage than the infused version, in some cases it's going to do more damage, especially because this one has strike damage, so it's going to do better against heavily armored enemies. And it's not like this enemy right here is heavily armored, you know what I'm saying? This guy is I mean, he just got like beginner, like Dark Soul enemy armor, you know what I'm saying? So let's see if I can, I'll try one more time. Maybe, you know, there's a lot of, alright, and still 307. So there you have it, you guys. I'll meet you guys over at the Lost Bastille. We're going to talk to Steady Hand McDuff. Alright, y'all, so I'm going to show you guys, now that we're here at Steady Hand McDuff, I'm going to show you guys how these infusions kind of look when you're upgrading or infusing your weapon. So, and something to note actually before we do that is when we were fighting the basilisk, I hadn't actually realized that basilisks are weak to fire. They have a -15 penalty to fire damage, and it looked like it was pretty close, but if you go back, I think the fire damage was like just a little bit more than the strike damage off of the hammer. So you know, it'll do more when it's weak to fire. It's just, you know, not super duper noticeable, not as noticeable it was against the old knight. The difference here. All right, so couple things. When you try to infuse something, you probably want to have it equipped. Alright, so here's the weapons that I have equipped, and I also have the shield equipped. I can equip like another weapon, for instance, the crescent axe, and I will also equip this hand axe. Alright, so 2 axes, and matter of fact, yeah, that's fine. Now what we're gonna do is take a look at the infusions. Now most people don't realize there's a couple screens here, and when you press the triangle button, it says switch down at the bottom. So when you switch, it'll switch to different player statuses. Now this screen is actually pretty good because it shows you on the right hand side, it shows you weapon 1, weapon 2, weapon 3, and then it shows the left hand weapon 1, 2, and 3. So we have a weapon in every hand with the exception of left one is the shield. But it still has, I mean, you could technically still attack with a shield, and that's something I'll show you guys. One of the shields that's really well known for attacking later on in the game. Okay, so first thing you want to do is pick your weapon. So we'll pick the fire longsword, which is on the right hand too. You can see that if I were to select the faint stone, it would overall lower the overall damage by a few points. Alright, if I go to the bolt, same thing, and if I do poison, it considerably lowers it. Alright, raw lowers it still. If I enchant it with a magic stone, alright, and if I reset it, so pretty much this is the max, the fire is the max that it can have right now. But something to note is that if I did use a pale stone, it would be all one type of damage instead of being split damage between fire and physical. It'll all be physical damage. So, you know, something to note. Alright, and the same thing is true for these other ones. So say if I take the hand axe, right now it has 205, and if I infuse it, I get a little bit of a bump, right? Because it's split damage. Okay, and sometimes that split damage is really good, sometimes it's, you know, not really too good. It just kind of depends on your statistics, really, like what kind of build are you playing with, because as you saw in the examples, having straight damage can be really, really good. Now here's something very interesting. The Dragon Slayer Crescent Axe, alright, if you use the Bolt Stone, you really don't get, like, it looks like it's kind of like strange, like why is it not do the same things as the other ones did? And that's because it already has lightning damage. So you could use the Bolt Stone and then it will increase the amount of lightning damage. And you probably will be wondering, like, why would I ever do that? Well, that's because if you're running a faith build, then you'll get more, you'll get an extra bonus to scaling. If you do that, you'll get more base damage too. This is specifically for lightning damage, so it could be very good to enchant it with Bolt, and use the Soul Planner to actually see the specific number breakdown, because this only shows base damage. It doesn't show, even if I switch it, okay, it's not going to show what the scaling bonuses are. Alright, and when you do enchant it, you'll wind up with something like this. Here, I'll show you. You'll wind up with something like this, because the scaling bonus for the Fire Longsword is really weak. Alright, you get total, between the two, you get a total of like 50, right? for the craftsman's hammer, because it's not split damage, I get a lot more to the scaling bonus. And sometimes it's misleading, because if you highlight a weapon, you'll see at the very bottom it says the scaling. So this one, scaling is B. Sometimes when you enchant something, or not enchant, but imbue something, it'll sometimes keep the same scaling bonus. Like the most notable one that comes to mind is the Black Steel Katana. It'll stay at S scaling for dex, but when after you get done imbuing it, or infusing it, it will actually lower the amount of scaling bonus that you get. And it probably shouldn't do that, because it still has S scaling, and those letters do not necessarily translate to a numerical value, and all letter scaling values are not the same. So where this one is B, another hammer's B scaling is going to be completely different. So that's, you know, something to keep in mind. A lot of it has to do with how much base damage that it has, what type of weapon it is, how fast does a weapon swing. So there's a lot of factors involved. So just keep that in mind, that the letters are not all the same. And that's pretty much all I have for the, you know, infusions. Again, my advice is, if you're going for, like, this character is pretty much a straight strength, and I'm probably going to level up my dex a little bit, and then I probably don't want to infuse my weapons. You know, I'll probably keep the fire longsword, so that in case I need fire damage, and I might use that bolt stone to infuse something. But in general, I'm going to keep my weapons just normal, because I'll have better scaling, I'll have, you know, better pure damage, pure physical damage, and in the end, since I'm a physical build, that's pretty much what I want to do. For my other character, though, I'm going to be doing a hexer kind of build, so I'll have a decent intelligence, a decent faith, and I'll probably end up having a bunch of infused items, because my weapons will get, you know, that elemental scaling bonus, and it'll be worth it. And again, check the Souls Planner, see what you want to do with your character, and then play around with it. Put in, like, oh, what happens if I infuse it? What happens if I don't? Because when you do it over here, it's done. All right, you used your infused stone, and then you're gonna have to farm up some more basilisks to get more. So use the Soul Planner. That's the tool for you guys to use, so that you don't have to waste your consumables and your upgrade materials and stuff like that. Okay? All right, you guys. This is Dungeon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone. Alright, you guys, I know I just said that we're going to end up that video, but actually, I wanted to actually show you guys. I'm going to put a tear sheet up for the Souls Planner, and I wanted you to see, like, you know, what it looks like when you input your attributes into the Souls Planner, and then when you actually start calculating out how much damage you're going to do and stuff like that, because it'll tell you exactly how much damage to the number. Okay, so I'll put the link in the description down below, and you know, go check that out. All right, for reals this time. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.